Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Sara.
And I'm Allie.
And today we are doing all things WSL. This past weekend was the first weekend back of 2024, and it was like a goal fest. Goals galore, baby.
Yeah, it's 21, 22 goals, I believe, this weekend scored. And
Oh, I didn't know that stat. All I know is that poor Leicester City were the only team that got shut out.
yeah, so it was a crazy weekend. It was an absolute goal fest.
Yeah, 2 hat tricks. Lauren James had a hat trick. Bunny Shaw had a hat trick. Turland of Brighton had 2 goals, a brace as they call it.
Lauren James is currently the most successful player at Stamford Bridge, male or female, this season. She has scored the most goals at Stamford Bridge as a solo effort.
I love that.
Any other Chelsea player, male or female, this season. So
That's
is
a
my
great fact.
That is my
That's
fact.
a great fact.
That's my fact for this episode, is that Lauren James is basically a legend.
And along those lines, there were a lot of great games this weekend, which is why we're going to do this whole episode talking about the games from this past weekend and previewing the ones for next weekend. So first and foremost, we've got to get into our game of the week. We spent some time talking about it in our last episode. It was, of course, the top of the table battle, Chelsea hosting Manchester United. And for this, we brought on our friend, our guest co-host, notably a United fan, but mainly just we love to have her on. We know you love to have her on. So we brought in Amy to talk Chelsea versus United. So first and foremost, to kick it off, enjoy this wonderful chat with Amy on the Chelsea-Manchester United game. So we are here with Amy to talk through the massive Chelsea-Manchester United matchup from this past weekend. Amy, as always, it's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm happy to be back on the show and talk about Manchester United and Chelsea as well, because they deserve a mention.
Where to even begin? Chelsea took down Manchester United 3-1. I think there's a lot of ways to even start with the scoreline. This could have been 3-2. This could have been 2-2 for a lot of reasons, but we're here. You're a United fan. Let's first start on United, because I think that's what we have the most to say about. I was texting you while I was watching it, so we know that we have similar opinions on this. But for you as a United fan, take us through your feelings of this performance overall for them. Did they show up how you wanted them to in this game?
No, is the short answer. The long answer is that Manchester United have regressed. And we have to say that they have, from where they were last season. And Chelsea seem to be this mental hurdle that Manchester United cannot get over. We cannot beat Chelsea, home or away. We played them in the cup final last year and arguably were the better team, and still we could not beat them. This performance also in the first, I would say, 30 minutes screamed of a team that was scared of a team that they've never beaten before. So they came out very timid. Chelsea dominated the play. They had, many corners in quick succession in the beginning, in particular, the first couple of minutes, and they took the lead deservedly. So it did not start well for United. They were up against it already, against a Chelsea team who just lost Sam Kerr, who you have to say that does play a huge part, as you guys talked about last week on the podcast. It plays a huge part in their mentality going forward. And they tried something different last week with Lauren James as in Sam Kerr's role, and it wasn't super convincing. This week they tried something different with Fischl and James playing up top together. James in a more free role, I would say. That's her best position by far, is give her free license to do whatever she wants, because she is so gifted. Anyway, we'll come back to Chelsea. But yeah, so United started terribly, conceded a goal which they didn't even shut down any of the players. I think Chelsea made like 4 passes in our 12 yards.
That's when I texted you. United should be absolutely ashamed. I think Chelsea made at least 3 or 4 passes in United's own defensive 18-yard box. And if you're going to let a team walk over you like that, you should kind of feel insulted and like you want to crawl in a hole. If you are allowing a team to do that, that is more than a lack of organization. There's something else missing in the mentality of just going to get the ball.
Yeah, and we saw last week when Chelsea played West Ham in the FA Cup that Chelsea are like vulnerable. If you go at them, they're vulnerable. Yeah. So I don't understand Manchester United's mentality to start that way. But they kind of just were like, okay, we'll try and see out the first 10 minutes and not concede. And then we'll get sort of bedded into the game. Whereas I thought it was just an opportunity for Man United to come out and show what they're about and show that they can compete with Chelsea and beat them. But they didn't do that. They came out timid, on the back foot, conceded corners, conceded a goal early to Lauren James. Good finish. Earps might be a little disappointed, but it'd be harsh to say like that was her fault because it probably wasn't. And then so Chelsea are on the front foot and you give them an early start and that's not what you want. You're up against it. And then it becomes 2-0 quite quickly. And then you're thinking, well, the best Man United can get from this is a draw. And they'll have to really turn it around. And the defending for the second goal is
horrid.
Terrible. There's no pressure on the ball over the top, first of all. So you've got to talk about why is there no pressure on the ball? But then as a defender, if you see no pressure on the ball, if you're a centre-back, your immediate reaction is you have to drop. Like that's your first instinct is to step back. Mm-hmm. And Maya Le Tissier and Millie Turner could not keep up with Lauren James all game. And so you have to have in the back of your mind, right, we know she's quicker, let's get on the back foot. Or we both step together and play offside. But they didn't seem to be on the same page with that either. So again, Lauren James, route one ball, over the top, great first touch, smashes it in, great finish, second goal, 2-0. Now Man United are up against it. Are they even going to show up at this point? We're thinking, should I just turn the TV off? We're 25, 30 minutes into the game. We've done nothing.
It did not look good whatsoever. And I will say about the Maya Le Tissier and Millie Turner, I mentioned this somewhat to you, but neither of those center backs have the speed to keep up with Lauren James. They're not necessarily known for their speed. So when you think of great center backs in the game that aren't known for their speed, what are they great at? They're great at positioning. They're great at leading their back line. And that is also not a quality that I would attribute to Millie Turner and Maya Le Tissier. So then you're looking at these two center backs. They bring very similar qualities and they have both very similar weaknesses. And Chelsea exploited both of those weaknesses. And it just kind of seems that moving forward, if United want to have a more organized defense, play better defense, something in that center back pairing needs to change.
Yeah, I agree completely with that statement. And I think that Maya Le Tissier was really good last season and she was young coming into the fold. And I think she found her footing really quickly at Man United and became one of our best players last season. And then this season, she's plateaued. And for me, the worry is she doesn't have anybody next to her she can sort of grow and learn from. I'm not trying to really hammer Millie Turner here because I think that's unfair. She did just get an England cap, or not cap, a call-up, sorry. I just don't think Millie Turner is a world-class defender who you can play next to and learn off of. And I think Maya Le Tissier desperately needs that. And she needs the coaching staff also to step up and teach her how to become a great centre-back. And like you just said, positionally adjust, because also for the third goal, she got caught out. Mm-hmm. And again, that's we don't win a first ball in the middle. We don't win a second ball in the middle. It's a header. It's literally a header on to Lauren James. And we're getting caught out by that as well. And Lauren James just ghosts Tissier for pace. So I think that the coaching staff need to work on that. And I hope they are working on that, but it doesn't seem like they are. Honestly, I'm losing faith in the coaching staff, and that's another thing we should talk about. But after 30 minutes, Man United eventually decided they were going to show up and do something. And I don't know if that was that Chelsea took their foot off of it a little bit, which seemed to happen, and kind of got comfortable with the 2-0 and knew that they could probably counter on Man United and potentially score. And I'm sitting here watching the game and I'm thinking, yeah, this is exactly what Chelsea want, really. They want us to come onto them so they can counter. Mm. We started to get some possession. I would say, I mean, you and I were texting back and forth. I would say about the 30th minute, we got some possession. Not that we were doing much with it, but we needed to get possession and get into the game a little bit more and then develop a threat. We developed a threat going maybe into the 40th minute. We started to pressure and create some chances.
It was a slow build. As I said to you, it was like they kind of started to open their eyes from their awake state at the 30th minute. And then finally around the 40th minute, they could get some passes put together. Yeah, before they had maybe a little possession, but anytime they tried to advance it past midfield, Chelsea were all over it. And it was finally around the 40th minute that there was something that wasn't just predictable about them, because before that, it was all predictable from United.
Yeah, and Jace finally came into the game and created the goal for United just before the half, which was super important. And the way she created that was superb. Yeah. Just driving at their defenders, making them fearful. And that's what you don't want as a defender, is somebody driving at you with pace and speed and changes of direction. And you could see that she got past two defenders pretty easily. And then Neem Charles got nutmegged, which was really, just a nice move to get past Neem Charles, and cuts it back. And you would argue that Garcia should score the first opportunity. Great block from Buchanan, and then Hayley Ladd's there to get the rebound, thankfully. Just tenacity there, just to get on the ball basically and smash it in.
And that was the turning point, because that's momentum going into halftime. And then in the second half, United truly won that second half. They were the better side for that 45 minutes. And they just couldn't figure out a way to make that reflected in the score.
I think being more prolific in front of goal, because Chelsea had one opportunity to score in the second half and they took it. And we had multiple chances to score in the second half and didn't take any of them. So, our finishing leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, maybe people will point to the fact that we don't have Russo, but I still don't think that Russo's like a natural goal scorer anyway, to be honest. And I don't know if Russo would have made a difference in this game. But why not bring on a Rachel Williams sooner? Why not bring on a Mallard sooner, who are goal scorers? Rachel Williams has got us out of a bind many times. Why does she have to come on with 10 minutes to go? Why can't she come on sooner and get us a goal when we need it? And, you look at the opportunities. Toon threw on goal, takes too long to get the shot off, and Lawrence makes a good challenge. The Hayley Ladd opportunity, she could have scored her second goal. If she was a striker, she would have lifted that over the keeper, because knowing that the keeper's going to come out and make themselves big and spread themselves and go to ground, you just lift that over the keeper and it's a goal. And then we have to talk about the Leah Galton penalty. It's a penalty. I don't understand how that's not given. It's a penalty all day long.
That no call, it did really change the game, because now instead of United potentially walking away with 1 point and possibly 3, they're deflated. The game gets incredibly physical. The ref lost all control of that game, for the record. And Chelsea capitalized. But at the end of the day, you have to kind of give Chelsea credit for turning it around and putting that final goal away, because it was in United's power to say, that's not fair, but let's respond to this well. And it's not like they didn't on offense, but it was once again, that third goal looked exactly like the second goal. It was the same type of being exploited on defense in the center back, the same type of miscommunication, bad positioning, not accounting for the speed of Lauren James. And that's on United.
Yeah, it's definitely on Man United, and going 2 goals down and giving yourself a mountain to climb is on Man United as well. So, we can talk about scenarios, about penalties, and you also have to make your own luck. So Man United had to make their luck and they didn't take their chances. And then Lauren James is clinical and does. And for me, Leah Galton as well was a left-footed player. I think she should get the shot off regardless. She should cut her body across Lawrence, so that there's no option for Lawrence. So if she cuts her body across her, it's then a clear-cut foul if she brings her down, or she's getting a shot off of her left foot. And you fancy her on a left foot because she's left-footed. And you look at Lauren James go through on for the third goal, and she's very talented on both feet, and she's clinical on her left foot. She just slots it in the corner.
Yeah.
And when she's bearing down on goal for 1 minute, I don't think she's not going to score.
No,
I think that's a goal. Or 99% of the time she's scoring. Yes. So, but when I see Man United players bearing down on goal, I'm thinking, I don't fancy them here. They don't look confident. Toon didn't look confident when she was bearing down on goal. She's a little slow, and I was like, get the shot off quicker.
Yeah.
Same thing. Step across, Lawrence, so she has to take you out before she gets to the ball. Yeah. So and I didn't understand his substitutions either. I thought Hayley Ladd was our best player, and he took her off.
I couldn't agree more. And let's talk about that, because before we move on to Chelsea, which we'll do after this, we have to talk about the fact that you said, you know, United have fallen. We can't even say that they're stagnant. They've fallen. And the biggest question that arises is the coaching staff and why have United fallen? For you, is it the coaching staff alone?
Well, the coaching staff have to take the blame, part of the blame, right? They are the people who put the team out there. They're the people who work with them every day. They're the ones who pick the formation. And Man United is an easy club to play against in respect to, you know what they're going to do, right? This is Man United's tradition throughout the years on the men's side and the women's side is get the ball to the wingers, let the wingers do the work, get the ball in the box, finish. That's Man United since I was born. That's the Man United I've watched. And granted, we didn't have a women's team until 2018, 17, 18 that were worth watching, right? So it's just a philosophy of how the club has been. And I think that we need to change too. We can't just be this, let's get the ball out to the wingers and all they do is stay out wide. Mm-hmm. And because teams read that too. And what if that's not working? What is your plan B? What are you doing? What are you doing to change things when that isn't going to work? When your wingers are tied up, the left back and the right back are doing a great job and there's no way through. What are you doing? They need to get the best out of Ella Toon, and I want them to figure out how to get the best out of Ella Toon, whether that is playing as the 10, the dropped off player in behind the striker. Because I think that Serena uses her well for England and she knows what Tooney can do. Mm-hmm. And Tooney always comes up clutch for England. She scores big goals when we need her. But I want her to be that for Man United. I want her to score clutch goals for us when we need her to. And again, I think that Skinner has to take part of the blame, but also Manchester United as a football club has to take the blame because
they've let a lot of players go. Yeah. It feels much like a team that is falling because the team's a little deflated. The good players are starting to leave, right? Russo left, Bachier left. Obviously, we're all waiting for the shoe to drop on Mary Earps, and it just feels like you don't want to be the club that people want to leave. You want to be the club that these players want to come to. And it felt for a moment that United was becoming that, and something changed, whether it's the club not going out and getting the players that they need, whether it's players not wanting to play for Skinner, but something needs to be fixed because they're headed in the wrong direction. And with this loss, you know, barring something pretty unexpected happening, United are effectively out of the title race now. All right, we only have a few minutes left, and this wasn't all United. We're going to talk Chelsea now for a moment because this was a Chelsea without Sam Kerr. This was a Chelsea without Millie Bright. And as my terrible commentator on Paramount Plus did not mention, this was Hannah Hampton's first start for Chelsea in the WSL. I was so excited to see her in the starting lineup. I love watching her play, and I was excited to see her tested in a Chelsea kit. Chelsea, without Sam Kerr, I thought they solved the issue, as you said, that they had in their cup game. They came out, they put Fischl along with Lauren James. I thought Fischl didn't have the best game, but that happens. I think their issue is in the back because when United started attacking their back line, it started to fall apart a little bit. And Millie Bright is not just a strong center back. She's a vocal leader on that team. And you could tell that they were missing some of that organization. Why Jess Carter wasn't in there to kind of shore that up, I'm not entirely sure because I think that could be a good move for them. But all in all, I thought they held up well. And the more that this new back line starts to play together more, I think they'll be able to shore it up. Is this a back line that can go super far in the Champions League now? I guess we'll find out. I don't necessarily think so. But Emma Hayes and her tactics could certainly prove us wrong.
I think, it's a balancing act for Emma Hayes because they're in 4 separate competitions and I'm sure she would love to win all 4 of them, but the Holy Grail is the Champions League. To go out and win the Champions League in her final season is obviously the one thing she hasn't done with Chelsea and would really, end it on a high. And I think that just balancing these games with bringing in players and rotating your squad successfully is another thing that she does well. Mm-hmm. And so I think that it's just squad rotation, what we're seeing. And yes, Millie Bright being out is a big miss. Buchanan had some shaky moments at the back. We will say that. She gave the ball away a couple of times. I think Ashley Lawrence, she got lucky for the penalty, but she was decent. I don't think she had a bad game at all. I thought she was good. Neem Charles, you know what you get from her. Solid defensively, but bar the Manchester United goal where she got done over by Jace.
Yeah. But it happens to the best of us.
It definitely does. And just going back to Mia Fischel, she didn't have the best game, but what she was a foil, and she occupied defenders, and she allowed Lauren James the space to ghost into areas. And she, you know, because she took defenders away, that creates the space. And Lauren James being that out and out striker last week did not work, but this worked. Chelsea weren't at their best by any means, but they got the result. And we said this before, Chelsea are mentality monsters, and they get results when they need them. And this is what happened yesterday.
All right. Amy, as always, thanks for joining us, and we'll chat with you soon here on the Women's Soccer Show.
Thank you for having me and letting me talk about Manchester United, because I needed to express my feelings.
Let's go around the world. Kicking it off with Champions League. This is the 5th of 6 rounds of the group stage. So we have this game and one more to play right now. A lot to play for many teams. Big matchups this weekend, including Roma facing Bayern Munich. That's Group C. That group is wide open. Bayern and Roma both sitting at the bottom of their group with 5 and 4 points respectively, but only need 3 points to catch Ajax at the top. The tastiest clash, however, might just be Chelsea hosting Real Madrid. Chelsea sitting atop their group with 8 points, and Real Madrid at the bottom with just 1. However, Chelsea need these points to stay atop their group. 6 matches all happening today, Wednesday, and tomorrow, Thursday. So tune in on DAZN Football. That is free for you to stream.
Over to Australia, and it is so close in the Australian League right now. And this weekend's results have truly shaken up the table. Wins for Melbourne Victory and Western Sydney has given them a fighting chance to make the playoffs. Whereas a 0-0 draw between Perth and Brisbane means Perth have fallen to third. Who are going to make the playoffs? It's anyone's for the taking.
And over to Mexico, La Liga MX. Tigres are truly proving to be the team to beat this year. So early on in the season, and yet still atop the table. They secured a 7-2 win over León this weekend to keep their perfect start. Monterrey also managed to win this weekend to keep up the pressure and remain in second place.
And finally to France. PSG seem to have finally found their form at last after netting an 8-1 win over Bordeaux. But is it all too little too late, as Lyon maintain their 8-point cushion with a 2-1 win over Montpellier? They remain in the top spot. Who is going to get Champions League? Who is going to win the title? It could be anybody's.
Have you checked out Total Football Analysis yet? TotalFootballAnalysis.com provides researched analysis on loads of football, including the women's game. Want all the stats in one place instead of drowning in a mountain of tabs? Want to explore key matchups and the tactics from both teams? Total Football Analysis provides the stats and analysis to help you learn more about the beautiful game. We have a special discount for listeners of the Women's Soccer Show. At checkout, type WOSO10 to get a full year for just €10. That's €40 of the yearly subscription. Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and type WOSO10 at checkout.
As we mentioned at the start of the show, the weekend was all about the WSL, and it lived up to every expectation. Every game was phenomenal. It was just madness. It was absolute madness. So we're going to talk about some of the most exciting matchups that happened this weekend. Of course, it was the bottom of the table clashes that really, lit up the league. So let's start with Brighton versus Bristol City. Brighton took it in the dying moments of extra time, 3-2.
Oh my goodness. It really was. It was the bottom of the table clashes. We were right. We had this pegged for this past weekend, and they really lit everything up. I don't even know where to begin with this, but what a fun back and forth this game was. And 5 goals, I think they were all class finishes. Like, none of these were fluke goals. I can't even pick which one was better because there were some really world-class finishes here.
It's one of those things for Brighton, for me, they've got some amazing strikers that they just haven't been able to utilise. And this game, they came to play. They came to play game.
Let's shout out Elizabeth Turland, who is having herself an absolute season for Brighton right now. She's got 9 goals on the year. 2 of them came from this game itself. She's in 3rd place of all of the top scorers in the entire league. She scored 3rd most goals of anybody in the league. I mean, just 2 incredible goals. She's truly having a standout year right now. And I'm really happy that that was on display in this game. And not to mention Katie Robinson, the England international, and the goal she scored was just absolute class. Not to mention the timing of it. It was right after Bristol had equalized. And moments later, she was able to tuck that away for Brighton. Just a momentum killer and something that really only like a true veteran can do. Brighton played amazing, but let's not take any credit away from Bristol City. Bristol City had an incredible game, and Brighton only scored the game winner, that 3rd goal, in injury time. Otherwise, this really would have been a draw, but Brighton here doing West Ham favors, which we'll come on to. Bristol City played out of their minds. This is the best game I've seen them put together all season, and I was really impressed with the product on the field, truly on both ends. But I just want to, make sure we account for Bristol City here. Even though Brighton took those 3 points, Bristol City showed up.
Yeah, no, Bristol City absolutely knew they had to try and get something out of this game because obviously they're facing their relegation competitor next week, which we'll get onto. I will say about Bristol City, however, they haven't quite got that killer instinct striker. Like, both their goals didn't quite come from where you'd expect at the front. So I think they need to shore that up because in this window, because that is going to kill them. Because defensively, they've tightened themselves up. They just don't have that instinct player up front.
It's funny because I would say the exact opposite for Brighton. I'd say that Brighton are a team that can score goals. They've got a bunch of goal scorers, killer instincts, and yet they are shaky at the back. And multiple times they could have conceded a goal to Bristol City purely because of sloppiness and defensive errors created by themselves. So Brighton truly need to focus on shoring up not only that back line, but that back line and how they work with the goalkeeper as well. It's way too shaky back there.
Yeah, I will say it was a fun game as a neutral. Not that I was that neutral, but it was a fun game as a neutral.
I was actually neutral, and it was a very fun game. I've seen Bagley play better, as I just mentioned, the shakiness in the back for Brighton. But altogether, these are the types of bottom of the table clashes that we live for in the WSL, and it did not disappoint.
To the other bottom of the table clash. Now this, I am biased because obviously it was my team, but this was probably one of the games of the weekend for me because it was so end to end. It was so not what I expected the game to be at all.
This was a game of the week, really was, not a bottom of the table clash. Important for the bottom of the table, not a clash of the bottom of the table.
So it was West Ham versus Spurs. Tottenham took it heartbreakingly for me 4-3. I think a draw would have been fairer, and I'll get on to why.
Oh, come on now. Your bias is already showing.
No, because it's not just me. Even Spurs fans have said it should have been a draw because of their 3rd goal, which should not have stood. Okay,
let's have at it. I knew you were going to bring something like that up.
Their 3rd goal shouldn't have stood.
Let's go for it.
Their 3rd goal shouldn't have stood because their player blocked Max and was offside and in the way.
And for those of you who don't know who Max is, Allie is saying that Tottenham had a player that was coming from the offside position, stood in front of Mackenzie Arnold on her way out of the offside position as the shot was being fired, and claiming that that player blocked Mackenzie Arnold's view. And so that obviously would have been her impacting the play and would have been an offside call. That was not called. The goal stood. I think this is a correct result based on who played better in the game. I know that's not really how soccer works. The team that played better doesn't always win, but I thought Tottenham were the better team in this. And that's not saying that West Ham didn't play well. I thought Tottenham were the better team.
I think Tottenham were the better team. I'm not going to lie. Tottenham were the better team. I think they got complacent and allowed West Ham to get back in, which they need to not do, because a more clinical team than West Ham will punish them for that, and they will find themselves dropping down the league, as we mentioned, because they've had such a bright start. But you know what? You go 3-1 up against a team that is fighting relegation. You should not be allowing them to get it back to 3-3.
Yeah, I mean, that's been Tottenham's woe all season, right? They've let in so many goals. Their goal difference is a -4. Their goals against is incredibly high for a team sitting at the middle of the table. Only 3 teams in the entire league have a higher goals against than Tottenham, and that's saying a lot. So, yes, absolutely, that is something for Tottenham to shore up. Their attack was firing on all cylinders. I thought they looked great. They were connecting well. They weren't predictable. Beth England is so key for them, so creative in that role of the dropped number 9. And I need to spend a moment on Grace Clinton, because she is having herself an incredible season. And to see this young talent, she's 20 years old and she's on loan from Manchester United at Tottenham right now, which I think is great for her because she's getting all of this playing time. And she's not just getting playing time, she's getting playing time next to somebody like Beth England, who she's developing an incredible connection with. I love seeing those two play off of each other. And B, she's clearly learning a lot from. This is so great for her, and to get to see her shine on this stage was really fun to watch.
I would say this game didn't plan out how I thought it would, in the fact that the last few times that West Ham and Tottenham have met, it's been very nick a goal. It's been, Spurs have nicked a goal here, West Ham nicked a goal. We drew, obviously, the infamous have some of that last time away at Spurs. So it's been very, this was like an insane goal fest, and I think it's probably some of the best play I've seen from both teams.
Tottenham definitely dominated the whole game, but there was a period of 10 to 15 minutes where it felt like there was a spark in West Ham. And I think it was when the substitutes came on, including Christy Mewis. And so I want to spend some time talking about really what sparked that onslaught, that attack that West Ham was able to put together. And obviously how we thought these new players fared on the field with West Ham.
Yeah, I will say, and I mentioned her last week, and I've mentioned her on other things, I will say the big one for me was Gory. Gory has literally felt like she's been playing for West Ham her entire career. Like, she has settled in so quickly and is so... You want to talk about a spark? That is a sparky player in the midfield that is running, other midfielders ragged.
She's huge. She's huge for West Ham. She's everywhere.
Except she's not, because she's 5'1" and it's hilarious.
She is truly everywhere, though. She's just such a class player. I can't say enough good about her. I absolutely love her attitude, her competitiveness. I don't even care that she got a yellow card for dissent. She was fired up and I liked it because West Ham need that. And it's just a treat for us to get to watch her every weekend now in the WSL. I'm just so excited.
That's what a West Ham player wants. That's what we want as a West Ham fans, is we're like, yes, get the yellow card for dissent. Yes, you do that.
But I do want to talk about Christy Mewis because she came on almost immediately, got an assist off of a free kick, and had one of the funniest moments of the WSL so far, trying to take a corner kick as the wind was blowing the flag in her face and the balls rolling everywhere. And it was a sight to see.
Yeah, it did make me laugh that my Man United fan was like, I can't believe that Christy Mewis has gone from like the beautiful arena that was the Red Bull where Gotham play and all that, and has gone to Dagenham, which is not. And they're not wrong.
You know what, though? Anybody that follows Gotham FC knows that if there's one thing Gotham were known for this past season, it was weather delays and rain delays and just terrible weather whenever they played. So I think that she actually felt right at home.
I will say, I think we talked about what KMU we're going to get. Obviously, this was her first minutes in Claret and Blue, but I'm hopeful. She seems to gone in attacking, wanting to, again, like with Gory, wanting to fight for the ball. Like I said, got the assist really early on. So, yeah, I'm excited. I am excited by our new signings. I can't wait till we see all three of them play together.
Christy Mewis, I thought she played well for the 25 minutes that she was on. She seems very present. She's the type of player that needs to be kept on her toes. She needs a new challenge. She needs to still be to be fighting for something every single day. Otherwise, it does feel like she can get complacent. So this move, this new team, this new stadium, this now race to get out of the bottom, I think all of this newness for her is going to spark the best of Kristie Mewis. And I think we just saw the start of it. We're going to preview all 6 matchups. This is going to be short, quick, lightning round. And we have to start with first matchup, the bottom of the table battle that we have all had circled on our calendars for the past month, if not more. The truest of true in the sense of a bottom of the table battle. This is Bristol City hosting West Ham. West Ham and Bristol City are even on points. West Ham is only sitting above Bristol City in the second to last place in the table because of goal difference. This game, some might say, will determine who gets relegated and who doesn't. Allie, do you think that that's true?
Yes, I do. I genuinely do. I think this is the game that's going to be, if whoever comes out on top on this one is pretty much safe, and it's goodbye to the other team.
I would agree. Both teams have one win. Bristol City beat West Ham for their only win on the season. West Ham's only win on the season was versus Brighton earlier in October. Their schedules look similar for the rest of the season, so I really think that this is a big moment.
I do genuinely think you're right. I do think it is going to come down to this game. I still have faith because I have to. Until it is physically impossible for West Ham not to survive, I have to have faith. And I think we can beat Bristol. Based on the 2 games that I saw this weekend and the teams that are coming into January, I genuinely, and yes, you can call me biased and whatever, I think West Ham are going to edge it.
No, you should be picking West Ham. I'd tell you were stupid if you didn't. That'd be ridiculous.
I think West Ham can take it, and I do think West Ham will take it. And then if I come back next week and we've not, then I've signed our fate. But as far as I'm concerned, West Ham can take it and will take it.
The cherry on top of this game, aside from it being a great bottom of the table battle, which we always love, is that both of these teams, I think, are coming off of a weekend where they just played their best football that they've played all season. So this, I think, is extra set up to be a really fun one. Is it terrible if I sit on the fence and try to be nice to you now and say, I think we're in for a real one this year and that this might end up in a draw?
It could end up in a draw, and I think anything but a loss will work in West Ham's favour. And I'll tell you for why. I will tell you for why.
Yeah, please, because Bristol City's got the win on the head-to-head right now.
They do, only just though. It was a very close match. It was a bit like West Ham Tom. The reason I say it will work out in West Ham's favour if it's a draw is because whereas both teams have been beaten by the same teams, Bristol have been battered. West Ham, it's been close. So if we're going to go down to goal difference, which we currently are, for example, West Ham lost 2-0 to Chelsea. Bristol lost 3-0 to Chelsea. You know, Arsenal battered Bristol. Arsenal only scored 3 against West Ham. So I think
you're saying that you'll take it on goal difference if points are even.
Yeah. And I don't care about that. I'm like, I want West Ham to stay in the WSL. This is not our best season. I know for a fact it's not our best season. I just want us to survive. And so if we have to survive on goal difference, West Ham can do that. So I genuinely think that if it's a draw, that's in West Ham's favours, not Bristol. Only a Bristol City win will save them. So next game is Liverpool versus Arsenal. Now, Liverpool got a chance to bounce back because, let's be honest, we didn't mention it before, but they got absolutely battered by Man City this weekend. It was, if you're a Liverpool fan, that was a tough watch. It was a 5-1 loss for you against Man City, who are having an insane season right now.
Yeah, arguably the most consistent team in the league right now is Manchester City.
Yeah, Arsenal is still in the title race, but let's be honest, they faced another Merseyside team this weekend, and it was not a convincing win. It was not convincing. Everton Arsenal, that was not a game. I fully thought that Everton could have pulled something out the bag. So this is going to be a huge one because Liverpool are going to want to be able to bounce back and get some momentum for the second half of the season, and Arsenal are going to need the 3 points to stay in contention, to even consider
for the title. Yeah, Arsenal sitting 3 points behind Chelsea right now. So just to, keep within shooting's distance of Chelsea, they need to keep winning. There is no other option. Obviously, I'm taking Arsenal on this. A, because of my bias, and B, because I really do think that they can pull it off. Liverpool aren't playing their best right now based on the result last weekend. Liverpool, if you'll remember, beat Arsenal 1-0 earlier in the season at the Emirates, I believe it was. And I think Arsenal will have a chip on their shoulder about that, and I think they'll come out pretty strong and make sure something like that doesn't happen again.
I think that Arsenal are their own saboteurs, and I reckon it's going to be a draw. I can see it being a 1-1. I think Liverpool are going to come out absolutely raging and absolutely fighting, and I think it's going to be a draw. I think it's going to be 1-1.
Moving on, Tottenham versus Manchester City. City off of, as we just mentioned, a huge win and arguably, like I said, the most consistent team of the season. They'll be playing away, though, and Tottenham, as we just spoke about, has been playing well. However, the last meeting between these two teams, City absolutely battered Tottenham 7-0. It was an absolute destruction. However, Beth England wasn't back yet for Tottenham, and really Tottenham they are a bit of a different team than when that matchup went down. And they are firing on all cylinders, as we've talked about. It could be a very different game than the first matchup, A, because of how Tottenham are playing, and B, because it's at home for Tottenham.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be a home advantage for Tottenham. I don't think it's going to be another 7-0. I'm so torn because Tottenham...
I know. You could pick the upset on this, huh? Like, yeah, it's tempting.
Because Tottenham were Man City's bogey team last season. Like, Tottenham screwed them over out of a Champions League spot because it was those two games that really threw off Man City's momentum. I'm going to go for the upset. I'm going to go for the fact that I think it's going to be close and it's going to be Tottenham win it 2-1.
I hope you're right, but I'm going to go with City. They're on a roll. They really can't stop scoring goals right now. And if it turns into a shootout, my money's on City. However well Tottenham are playing, I just think, like I said, I think that they're the most consistent team. And I think I should put my money where my mouth is. But I do agree with you that it's going to be a completely different game than the last time these two teams played this season.
Brighton versus Chelsea. Now, this could be a tasty, tasty game because Chelsea will have been playing midweek with Champions League. Obviously, they are missing star striker Sam Kerr, as we've talked about previously. So there is that fatigue set in. Brighton on their day can take on Chelsea, can take on an Arsenal on their day. I think that Chelsea have started this January not in their best form. Like, they struggled in the FA Cup against West Ham. They started well against Man United and then allowed Man United back in. It's not the top tier Chelsea that we've seen in previous. So this could be an upset or it could be a battering.
I don't think it's going to be either, actually. I don't think it'll be a battering. I think Chelsea will take it. I think it'll be, a minimal scoreline, maybe 2-0, maybe 3-1. Not a battering at all, but I do think Chelsea will take it. Brighton did play well, but did they play well enough that I can compare how they played to how I view Chelsea? No, I think Chelsea can still take it, even in this form.
Yeah, no, this is the one we agree with. I do think it's going to be 0-0 for a long time. And then I think Chelsea will take it 1-0 towards the end. I think Lauren James will get a burst of energy and just basically they'll knacker Brighton out. And that's what will happen, is that Brighton will hold on for like 70 minutes, 75 minutes, and then...
If Chelsea are smart, though, they'll know they're tired because they're coming off a midweek Champions League game. They'll want to score early and just hold on. We'll see. Moving on. Second to last game, we've got Everton versus Leicester City. Everton just 1 point ahead of Leicester City in the table. Leicester City is on a 5-game skid, having lost 2 and drawn 3 in their last 5 games. They will need to turn it around, but they will be away at Everton. Everton playing relatively well of recent, but when you look at their past matchup, Leicester City were able to take it with just a small margin of victory, a 1-0 to Leicester City at Leicester City.
These are probably the most even of the two teams that are playing this weekend, I would say. It is very hard to call. I do think that Leicester on the downturn. They started bright and have just fallen, like we mentioned. Everton, like I said, they gave Arsenal a good game. I thought they could have taken it. So I'm going to give it to the Merseyside team. I'm going to give it to Everton. I think it's going to be a close one. It's going to be a 1-0 or 2-1. But it's going to be Everton, and Leicester are going to have to try and pick up some points elsewhere.
You know what? We agree. We agree. I do want to pick Leicester, but I don't think that they're playing well. And I would love this could be a game that could snap them out of it. It very well could be, because they could see this and be like, this is winnable. We can do this. We won last time. And it could snap them out of it. But I'm going to go with momentum right now, and I think Everton has it.
And then the final game of the weekend, which I, again, would say is probably one of the most interesting as a neutral.
I'm very excited for this one.
Because we all know how it happened, because this was the first game of the season. It was Man United versus Aston Villa. And it was so close. And, Villa went ahead, and then Man United came back and absolutely battered them. And it started the skid that was Villa's season that they're only just starting to recover from now. So obviously, Man United started off bright, have now fallen. They really need these 3 points if they want to try for Champions League again next season, because if they don't beat Villa, if they don't get these 3 points, I will honestly say that is their Champions League dream over. But it's going to be interesting, because while Villa are coming back from the skid that was the start of their season, they're still not convincing for me. They're still not convincing. They got battered in the FA Cup by Everton, who we've just talked about as being a bit of a nyeh team this season. They came back and beat
less
Leicester.
than convincing win this past weekend over Leicester City.
Exactly.
1-0.
Exactly. They should have been putting goals with the team they've got and the players they've got up front. They should have been putting goals away against Leicester and didn't. So,
and it wasn't even that. I mean, they didn't dominate the game. The game was relatively even.
Yeah. Man United obviously very sluggish. Not the best performance against Chelsea. So it is going to be interesting. This one I'm super excited about as a neutral. I think United are going to take it again. I do think Man United will win, but it's not going to be a great victory. It's going to be, again, a 1-0, a 2-1. It's going to be close, but they know they've got to win for Champions League, so I think Man United will take it.
I do agree. I think United will take it. United are going to be playing at home. Aston Villa are playing better. They're on the rise. They're coming off of two wins. So they will want to keep this momentum going. This is by no means going to be a destruction. I think that we're going to see these two teams really battling it out. But if we get the United that we got in the second half of the Chelsea game, it's no contest. United will take it. I'm gonna say United as well. It hurts me, but Aston Villa just haven't really proven yet that they can beat a team at the top of the table, and they are slowly climbing to the middle of the table right now, but their wins have not been convincing, and because of that, United. All right, and that is it for us here at the Women's Soccer Show. Wow, what an episode. It was all WSL. I don't think we've ever done that, just all WSL.
No, because your American bias comes out often, so we have
there's always news. There's always news everywhere, so we got to take care of it. All right, and that is it for this weekend. Don't forget, everybody, this episode drops on Wednesday. If you're listening Wednesday or Thursday, tune into those Champions League games. They are going to be so much fun, and as always, head to our Patreon, patreon.com/TheWoso Show for more content every week, giving it to all of you who are subscribing and supporting us. And if you just want to support us as a show and not listen to that content, you can do that too. There's $3 a month. That's nothing.
No, and it really does help us create the show that you love and listen to. It does help pay for editors and getting us to places and extra content and all of that fun stuff. So please, if you can, check out our Patreon. We really do appreciate it.
None of that money goes in our pockets. It all goes right back into the podcast to help, as Allie said, make the podcast what it is. So that's our pitch. It wasn't planned, but we got to it, and it was a good one. We'll see you next week, next Wednesday, for the Women's Soccer Show. I've been Sarah.
And I've been Allie.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
This podcast was edited by Monkey.